My name's Clayton Allen. I'll be showing you how to set up a guitar.
When removing the strings from a guitar, you start from the inside and work your way out, as the strings hold most of the tension on the neck, and by removing them all at the same time or from working outside to in, it can bow the neck or bend it. So I started with the fourth string, which is the D string, and loosened it using a string winder, making it much quicker. Normally, at the point when it's loose, you would cut it with wire cutters, because at the end is a sort of frayed curly bit which can sometimes scratch the bridge, as seen there when it's pulled through. But I didn't have any wire cutters to hand, so I had to unwind the whole thing. Using the string winder made it much easier to do this though. And then replace this string straight away. In this example, I only changed one string, but normally I would carry on and do the same for each string, replacing it before taking the next one off so that no tension was lost over the neck. I then line up the action head in line with where the string should go so it feeds straight through, placing the string through the hole and then bending it to hold it in place so that it doesn't slip out whilst unwinding it. I then wind it so that the action head turns clockwise, keeping the string to the inside of the headstock. This stops it from coming too close to the other ones and holds it more in line with the nut and the neck. The aim of winding it round is to keep a perfect spiral so that none of the string overlaps whilst on the action head, stopping it from potentially slipping or moving whilst playing or tuning. If this was to happen, it could lead to the guitar becoming detuned midway through playing a note, and the only real way to fix that would be to unwind the whole thing and redo it. By holding it lower down, it gives the string time to spiral upwards and stopping it from slipping over each other. Ideally, you want to have about 2.5 turns, but this string I left a bit too loose, meaning it was more than that. Whilst tightening the string, to stretch it and make sure that it was going to stay where it was and wouldn't stretch after tuning it, I tightened it too tight for what it was meant to be, giving it time to stretch itself out. Here I am loosening it again to put it back on properly, and then tightening it again with a bit too tight so that when I came to tuning it, I had to tune it down rather than up. I had to check that the string was tight the whole way through, was in line on the neck, held in its groove on the nut, and was all correct over the bridge.
What I'm doing here is looking down the neck to check to see if it's straight. It should be in line with the strings. It shouldn't bow from side to side or up or down. You can tell fairly easily by looking straight down the neck. But also, if you put a cape on the first fret and your finger lower down and slide a card in between, it should move the whole way up and down relatively easily. Do this for the highest and the lowest string to tell if it's bowing side to side. This one was slightly too close to the neck on the lower string, down by where my hand was. To edit this, you'd need to adjust the truss rod, which is going through the neck with an Allen key. However, I didn't do this because it can potentially snap the neck where it's under so much stress. The next thing to check was the action. By measuring this, normally with a ruler, you can get special gauges to do it as well. This shows how high above the fret markers the string is. You're normally going for roughly between 1 and 3 millimeters, depending on play style. Since this is my guitar, I had it set up already how I liked it, but on this type of guitar, you can change it by twisting these dials underneath the bridge. On some, you'd need to use a screwdriver and do each string individually. The next step is the intonation, which is making sure the string is the same note played open as it is on the 12th fret, since this would be a whole octave. To do this, I had to first get my string in tune. So I did the E string first, which was in tune open and at the 12th fret. Next, I did the A string. Once this was in tune, I played it on the 12th fret and it wasn't quite in tune, meaning that I needed to change the saddle on the bridge, either moving it up or down depending on how out of tune it was. So I moved the saddle down further away from the nut, making the string longer, to try and get it in tune. I then checked it and it wasn't quite in tune, so I kept adjusting it. I also had to check to see if it was in tune open, so I checked that and then play the note again. As you can see, it's still slightly not right, so I had to keep adjusting it ever so slightly until it was in tune. You'd go through and do each of these. Previous problems mentioned, such as a bowed neck, would affect the tuning and the intonation on this, as well as the action. So once adjusting the action, you'd also have to change the intonation, since the action can slightly change the length of the string. This is quite a tedious process of constantly retuning the guitar over and over again to make sure that it's all correct. But once it's exactly an octave apart between the 12th fret and the open string, it should be fine. This is very minor adjustments, moving the saddle maybe half a millimeter to a millimeter each time, since changing the length of the string has quite a dramatic effect over tiny little tunings. This is me getting the string in tune and then playing it on the 12th fret, and it's not quite in tune, so keep adjusting it ever so slightly. This can take quite a long time, especially doing it for all of the strings, since each one can be slightly out. On some guitars, depending on the type of bridge, it would have 2 little screws adjusted by an Allen key, whereas this one is just a flathead screwdriver to change it. Once it's all in tune, this means the whole guitar is ready to set up to be played.